The shuttle broke through the clouds of Velthar Prime. Its silver wings reflected the soft, green light of the planet's twin suns. Inside, Alex Carter sat near the window, looking down at the glowing cities made of crystal and vines. He had never seen anything like it. Beside him, Mia Brooks was checking her scanner for atmospheric data. "Air's good," she said. "A bit humid, but we won't need masks." Alex nodded. He felt nervous, but also excited. This was the first time humans were meeting the Velthari people face to face. The Velthari were mysterious and powerful. For years, they stayed away from human contact. Now, they finally agreed to peace talks. The shuttle landed in a large courtyard surrounded by tall crystal towers. A group of Velthari soldiers waited silently. They were tall with thin, smooth armor that shimmered like oil. Their large eyes watched the humans closely. One of them stepped forward. "Welcome to Velthar Prime," the soldier said in a deep voice. "Her Majesty Queen Nira awaits." Alex and Mia followed the guards through winding paths and glowing halls. Everything looked alive, like the buildings were part plant and part stone. The walls gave off a soft hum. They entered a grand room filled with light and strange music. At the far end stood Queen Nira. She was taller than the others, wearing a robe made of living leaves. Her skin was a mix of silver and green, with patterns like tree bark. One side of her face was scarred, the skin darker and rough. Her eyes were pure black, deep like space. The humans stopped. Mia gave a slight bow. Alex stood still, staring at Nira. She looked back at him. "You are the human linguist," Nira said. "Yes, Your Majesty. My name is Alex Carter. I study languages and cultures." "Then you will understand more than words, I hope," she replied. Alex smiled. "I will try." Nira moved closer. The other humans felt uneasy, but Alex didn't step back. He looked at her face, her scars, her strange shape, but he didn't look away. She raised her hand. "You are not afraid." Most humans would turn their eyes. "You're different." "Yes," Alex said, "but not scary." "I'm here to learn, not to judge." Nira paused. Then she turned and walked toward a long table made of glowing stone. "We will speak more. Sit with me." Later that night, back in the guest quarters, Mia looked at Alex. "You were brave," she said. "Most people would freeze." Alex sat down and took a deep breath, looked at me like she expected me to hate her. But she's not a monster. She's a leader who's seen pain. I think there's more to her story. Outside the window, Velthar Prime shimmered under its twin moons. The wind carried songs from the distant forest. Alex stood quietly, already feeling that this mission would change more than just politics. In the royal chamber, Queen Nira stood before a mirror made of water. She touched her scarred cheek. "He did not flinch," she whispered. "Strange human." Behind her, an advisor spoke. "You should keep your distance. They may not understand." Nira looked at her reflection again. "Perhaps. But this one might." The stars outside blinked like small promises. Peace was still far, but something had begun, and that something was hope. Days passed slowly on Velthar Prime. Alex and Mia walked through the palace gardens, collecting samples and learning about Velthari life. The plants glowed softly at night, and strange birds sang quiet songs in the trees. Everything on the planet felt alive. Alex noticed that Queen Nira often kept to herself. She rarely joined the other leaders. When she did, she wore a mask of strength, but her eyes were heavy. She said little during meetings, but she listened closely whenever Alex spoke. Noticed how she always kept the scarred side of her face in shadow. One evening, after a long day of cultural exchange, Alex was called to the Queen's private chamber. The room was quiet and dim. The walls shimmered like water. Nira stood by a tall window, looking at the stars. "Thank you for coming," she said. Alex bowed his head. "Of course," I returned to face him. "Why do you not stare?" "At what?" he asked. She pointed to her scar. "This, most beings turn away, even some of my own kind." Alex stepped closer. "It's a part of you.
Oh.
A sign that you survived something hard. That's not something to look away from." Nira was silent for a moment. "There was a war," she said at last. A long time ago I was young. There was an attack. I lost my parents and nearly lost my life. This scar is the reminder. Alex nodded. I'm sorry, that must have been terrible. It was, and many blame me for not ending the war sooner. Some still want me gone. Alex looked out the window. On Earth, we also have scars. Some are not on the skin, some are in the heart, but they matter just the same. Naira looked at him, her eyes softer now. You speak with care, human. Only because I listened first, he replied. Naira turned back to the window. There is a chamber deep below this palace. It holds records of what we lost. Would you like to see it? Yes, said Alex. Later that night, Naira led him through hidden paths. The way was quiet. No guards followed. They reached a metal door covered in strange symbols. Naira placed her hand on the panel, and the door opened. Inside was a room filled with broken machines, dusty scrolls, and pieces of old armor. Lights on the ceiling flickered. At the center stood a statue of an old Velthari queen, her face kind and her hands open. This was my mother, Naira said. She tried to make peace. She died in the fire. Alex looked around. Why hide this place? Because truth is dangerous. Some would rather forget. But I remember. I always remember. He walked to a cracked screen showing images of fire, buildings falling, and soldiers running. You kept all this? Yes, I want to learn from the past, but few others come here, even fewer understand. Alex placed a hand gently on the old statue. I think understanding begins when someone dares to look. Thank you for showing me. Naira stood still for a moment. Then she said, You may return any time, Alex Carter. Back in the guest room, Mia asked, Where were you? Learning more than words can teach, he answered. And far beneath the palace, the lights in the hidden chamber stayed on long after they left. It was the first time in years they had done so. Something had changed. And Naira, for the first time, began to believe that maybe not all humans were afraid of what they could not understand. A soft wind moved through the palace gardens as the sun rose. Alex stood outside early, thinking about the secret chamber Naira had shown him. He knew she was hiding pain behind her calm voice, but he also felt something strong in her a will to change. Inside the palace, things were becoming tense. The human team leader, Daniel Brooks, Mia's older brother, grew worried about Alex's close talks with the Queen. Called a private meeting with Mia. He's getting too close, Daniel said. We are here to build peace, not personal ties. He's doing what no one else is, Mia answered. He's building trust, real trust. Daniel crossed his arms. I don't trust that Queen. Something about her feels. Hidden, at the same time, deep in the dark halls of the palace, a different plan was forming. A Velthari general named Varn had been watching the peace talks with anger. He believed the humans were weak and dangerous. He didn't want peace. The Queen is forgetting our pride, Varn told his followers. She shares our secrets with a human. She lets them walk our sacred halls. This cannot go on. That night, while Alex met with Naira in the Crystal Garden, strange movement stirred in the shadows. Velthari soldiers who were loyal to Varn placed small energy charges near the shuttle pads and water tanks. One charge was set beneath the guest wing of the humans, but someone noticed. Solon, a young Velthari guard, had been watching the humans closely, not out of hate but out of curiosity. He saw the strange lights and followed the figures in secret. When he found the explosives, his heart raced. He rushed to Naira's chamber. Your Majesty, someone is trying to attack the humans. Naira's eyes went wide. Who, I think? General Varn. I saw his mark on the devices. Without waiting, Naira called the palace emergency code. Alex, Mia, and the others were pulled out of their rooms and brought to the safe zone beneath the throne room. Alex looked around. What's going on? Someone is trying to stop peace, Naira said. Yeah, you were the target. A loud sound shook the walls. Charges near the shuttle pads exploded, sending smoke into the sky. Naira turned to Solon. Did anyone get hurt? No. We acted fast. But they will try again. Daniel looked at Alex. Still think she's trustworthy? Alex faced him calmly. She just saved our lives. It tells me more than your fears do. Naira walked to Alex. Her voice was low. You should leave. It may not be safe for you here. Alex shook his head. Running now would only prove them right. I came here to listen, and I will stay. Naira looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned away, her robe moving like water behind her. In another part of the palace, General Vaughn learned that his plan had failed. He slammed his hand against the wall. The queen protects him? Then she is weaker than I thought. He looked at a map of the palace. Next time, I will not fail. That night, the stars above GalacticPrime seemed cold, but inside the palace, a bond had grown stronger. Naira had chosen to protect the humans, and Alex had chosen to stay. Both decisions would change the future of their worlds. Night came slowly on GalacticPrime. The stars above the palace shined bright, and soft lights danced on the crystal walls. Inside the Great Hall, the Velthari prepared for the ceremony of echoes. It was an old tradition, one that shared stories through movement, light, and sound. Queen Naira sent a message to Alex and asked him to attend. She said the ceremony would help him understand her people better. Alex felt honored. He dressed in a simple dark robe, as custom required, and followed 2 silent guards into a round chamber deep in the palace. The room was filled with soft music, played by living plants that moved like gentle wind chimes. Lights above shifted from blue to green, casting long shadows. Many Velthari had gathered, standing in a circle. Naira stood in the center, her arms raised, her robe glowing with silver threads. She began to move slowly. Her steps were smooth, her arms flowing like water. Shapes of light appeared around her, showing scenes from the past. Alex watched carefully as the lights painted stories in the air. He saw images of fire and war, of young Velthari fleeing from falling towers. Then came a moment where a small girl stood before flames, her face cut and bloody. She reached out to a lost child, pulling them to safety. The girl was Naira. The lights changed. Now, Naira walked through ruins, speaking to frightened people. Some turned from her, some listened. Then came the crown placed on her head. She stood tall, but her eyes were full of pain. Alex felt something deep in his chest. It was not fear or pity, but respect. As the ceremony ended, Naira lowered her arms. The lights faded, the music stopped. The room was silent. She looked at Alex. In front of everyone, she said, "You have seen now. This is what shaped me. These are the memories I carry." Alex walked to her and spoke clearly. "You have lost much, but you kept going. That makes you stronger than most." Naira looked down. "You do not turn away, even after seeing this." "Why?" He smiled gently. "Because I don't see a monster. I see someone who stood up when others fell." Quiet murmur passed through the Velthari crowd. Some nodded, others looked unsure. But no one spoke against the moment. Later, Naira and Alex sat in the garden under the moonlight. The stars above reflected in the calm water near them. "They listened tonight," Naira said. "More than I expected. Maybe they were waiting for a reason to believe," Alex answered. Naira touched the edge of the water. "There is one truth I never spoke until now. I blamed myself for not saving more. I thought my scars made me weak." Alex looked at her face. "They show that you survived, kept leading. That is not weakness." She turned to him. Her voice was quiet. "I am hideous human." Alex didn't look away, just smiled. "You are unlike anyone I've ever known. Makes you remarkable." For a moment, everything was still. The wind stopped. The water was quiet. Naira closed her eyes. No one had ever said that to her before. In the shadows beyond the garden, Solon watched. He knew danger was still near, but he also saw something more powerful than fear. He saw hope. Far away in the dark halls, General Varn heard of the ceremony and the words spoken between the queen and the human. His anger burned. The human poisons her mind. No one will stop him, I will. And so, while one bond grew, another plan of destruction began to take shape in silence. The sun had not yet risen, but the palace was already awake. Guards moved quietly through the halls, checking every corner. Queen Naira stood in the war room with her advisors. Her face was calm, but her thoughts were not. She knew someone had tried to destroy the peace talks, and she had a feeling who it was. "General Varn is quiet," she said. "Be quiet." Solon stood beside her. "We found signs near the guest wing. The charges were placed by someone trained, someone inside." Naira nodded. "We must not act too fast. If we accuse without proof, it will break everything." Meanwhile, Alex sat with Mia and Daniel in the guest chambers. Daniel was angry. "We should leave. This place is not safe." Alex shook his head. "No. If we leave now, we lose the chance to finish what we started. Naira is doing everything she can." Mia looked at them both. "Then we need to help. We need to find out who tried to stop this." Later that day, Naira called Alex and Mia to a private meeting. She showed them a small metal device. It was found near the control room. "This is a key," Naira said. "It opens parts of the palace only my top commanders can enter. It was hidden after the blast." Alex leaned closer. "So someone high-ranking is behind this?" "Yes," Naira said. "Believe it is General Varn, but I need proof, and I need help." Alex looked at Mia. She gave a small nod. "We will help," Alex said. That night, Solon guided Alex and Mia through a narrow hallway behind the throne room. It led to the power control center. From there, they could check the records and logs. They moved in silence. Only the hum of energy filled the air. Inside the control room, Mia found the logs. Her fingers moved fast over the screen. "Got it," she said. "Someone used this key code 2 nights ago. Look at the name, General Varn." Alex stared at the screen. "That's it. We have proof." Suddenly, a loud alarm rang. The door slammed shut. "They found us," Solon said. "We need to move. Now." They escaped through a side tunnel. As they ran, Alex looked back and saw 2 figures chasing them. They wore black armor with no marks. They reached the garden and hid behind a thick wall of glowing plants. The guards passed by without seeing them. "We have to get this to Naira," Mia said. Early the next morning, Queen Naira stood before the High Council. She placed the device and the log on the table. "This is the truth," she said. "General Varn tried to stop peace. He used his own guards to plant charges. He put everyone at risk." Gasps filled the room. Varn stood at the edge, his face dark. "Lies," he said. "The humans twist your mind. They use you." Alex stepped forward. "No. I came here with respect. I listened. I learned. You tried to destroy that." Varn pulled a blade from his side, but Solon moved fast, blocking him. Guards rushed in and held Varn back. Naira looked at Varn one last time. "You will face justice, not for me, but for the future." As the guards took Varn away, the room grew quiet. Naira turned to the council. "It is still possible, but it must be built with truth." For the first time, the council members stood and gave a silent bow, not out of fear, but out of trust. Outside, the light of day finally broke through the clouds. It was a new beginning. General Varn was taken away in chains, but the danger was not over. His followers had already begun to move. Some Velthari soldiers, still loyal to him, broke away from the Queen's control. They formed a small army in the southern edge of the city. Queen Naira stood on the balcony with Alex, watching smoke rise from the far hills. "This is what I feared," she said. "Even with truth, some still want war." Alex looked at her. "But now you know who stands with you. You're not alone." Solon entered the chamber. "We have reports. Varn's men are moving toward the power grid. If they take it, they will shut down the whole city." Naira gave a firm nod. "Then we will stop them." She turned to Alex. "You and Mia must stay safe. We can't lose you now." Alex shook his head. "We'll help. You need all the hands you can get." Mia arrived carrying a tablet and mapped the tunnels under the city. We can reach the grid before them if we move fast. An hour later, a mixed group of Velthari guards and human team members gathered. Some looked nervous. Others showed silent strength. Naira stood before them. "This is not just about power lines," she said. "This is about the kind of future we choose. Fight not to win a battle, but to protect peace." They moved quickly through the city. In the tunnels, the air was cold and tight. Lights flickered above as they followed Mia's map. Alex walked beside Naira, both holding small lights. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. They stopped. "They found us," Solon said. "We must keep going." As they reached the lower chamber near the grid, the enemy soldiers were already there. Red lights flashed as weapons were drawn. A loud voice echoed. "You are weak, Naira. You bring humans into our home." Naira stepped forward. "I bring those who wish for peace. Those who fight with respect, not fear." A blast came from the enemy side. The two groups clashed. Energy beams lit the dark space. Velthari guards defended the center, while Mia and Alex took cover behind a broken wall. Mia worked fast, opening the power system screen. "We need 5 more minutes," she shouted. Alex covered her while she worked. Nearby, Naira fought with skill and grace. Her robe was torn, and her face showed focus. Solon moved beside her, blocking attacks. One enemy came close to Alex, but Solon knocked him back just in time. "Stay low," he said. Finally, Mia shouted, "Done. The grid is locked. They can't shut it down now." Naira raised her hand. "Stand down. The power is safe." Some enemy soldiers dropped their weapons. Others fled. The rest were taken in by loyal guards. Breathing hard, Alex stood and looked at Naira. Her robe was burned and her arm was cut, but she stood tall. "You didn't have to fight," he said. "I had to lead," she answered. Later that night, they returned to the palace. The city lights stayed on. People looked up and cheered as the queen walked past. In the throne room, Naira sat beside Alex and Mia. Solon stood at her side. "Today we fought not as human or Velthari," she said, "but as one. This is how we build the future." Alex smiled, "And this is only the beginning." Outside, the stars above GalacticPrime shined brighter. The city was safe. The first true victory for peace had been won. Weeks passed since the battle near the city power grid. The city was calm now. The streets were quiet, but not with fear. It was the peace of healing. Lights glowed softly in every home. Children played again. Music returned to the gardens. In the great palace, Queen Naira stood before her people. This time there was no war talk, no alarms. She wore a new robe, light blue with silver threads. No one looked away. They looked at her with pride. "Today we begin a new age," Naira said. "Not just for Velthari, but for all who walk in peace." The High Council stood behind her. Solon stood on one side. On the other side were Alex, Mia, and Daniel. All of them had played a part in saving the city. A new treaty was signed. It was not just words on paper. It was trust written in ink. It promised shared knowledge, open borders, and joint missions of science and culture. Alex looked out at the crowd. He saw faces full of hope. People waved small lights in the air, a sign of peace among the Velthari. A small child handed him a flower. "Thank you," Alex said, smiling. Later, Naira and Alex walked in the garden. The wind moved gently, and the water in the pond was still. They stopped by the edge and looked at their reflections. "It feels strange," Naira said, "to see peace after so much pain." Alex nodded. "It feels earned." She looked at her face in the water. "I used to think no one could understand, that no one could see past what I am." "You showed them more than your face," Alex said. "You showed them your heart." Naira smiled, a real smile, one that reached her eyes. "And you, human, showed me that I am not alone." They stood in silence for a while. Birds sang in the trees. Far away, the city lights twinkled under the stars. Inside the palace, Solon spoke with Mia. "Do you think your people will return here again?" he asked. "Yes," Mia said. "And I think your people will come to Earth too. There is so much to learn from each other." Daniel stood nearby. He was no longer tense. Maybe peace isn't just a dream. Maybe it's something we build, one stone at a time. A message came from Earth. It was short but powerful. Earth recognizes the Velthari as allies. Let this friendship grow. The palace lit up that night. Lanterns floated into the sky, each carrying a wish. One by one, they rose, glowing like tiny stars. Naira watched from her balcony. Alex stood beside her. "What did you wish for?" he asked. "A world where no child grows up in fire," she said softly. "And you," Alex looked at her, "that you never have to hide your face again." She reached for his hand. It was a simple moment, quiet and true. In the years to come, the name of Queen Naira would be remembered across 2 worlds. Her story would be told not as one of war, but of change. And beside her in every tale would be the human who did not turn away. Peace had come, not by force, but by courage, truth, and kindness. And in the hearts of many, that peace began with a smile.